the people of Ad, a race of giants mentioned in the Quran. How tall were they? What was their dwelling like? The Quran goes into scarce details regarding this. However, mythology goes further into expanding this lore, adding rich details to a vague story. How rich are those details? Come through the store and let me welcome you to the city of Ubar, Iran of the pillars. The earliest recorded presence of their existence was found in the Ebla tablets. These tablets were dated back to 2500 BC. According to biblical chronology, this was before the Torah. The tablets that were discovered in 1975 prescribed the name of Iram of the Pillars, confirming its existence and also the existence of Abraham and other prophets mentioned in the stone carvings. According to various historical sources and references, including studies and research conducted on this topic, the people of Ad lived somewhere in Yemen, and those researchers have concluded that they could be the earliest recorded Yemenis. Abu Ishaq al-Talabi, a Persian scholar who wrote a different version of the popular ḳiṣaṣ al-anbiyā಼, otherwise known as the Lives of the Prophet, mentioned that they were situated somewhere between Oman and Hadramaut in Yemen, which is remarkable, as Hadramaut is a place that is rich in the ancient, paranormal and supernatural. A lot of folktales, haunted stories and mythology-rich stories originate from Hadramaut, including the infamous Jinn race called the Nasnas. However, coming back to the location, there are many sources from Western Orientalists that suggest that these people didn't live in Hadramaut but rather in the Rub al-Khali desert, or sometimes known as the Empty Quarter. The famous person who commented on this was probably T.E Lawrence, otherwise known as Lawrence of Arabia. When Lawrence of Arabia took a break from espionage and rebellions within the Arab world, he was busy searching for the city of Ubar, Iram of the Pillars, the legendary city or civilization from where the people of Ad came from. He coined this place the Atlantis of the Sands and even prepared a trip to search for the long-lost city, but he died and the trip was never made. Since then, many explorers, including Ranulph Fiennes and Nicholas Clapp, have tried to search for this city. They have made small discoveries here and there, but nothing substantial to say that that was actually where the city of Ubar was. Now, some scholars argue that the people of Iram lived in Petra, Jordan. Given the colossal structures, I wouldn't be surprised if the giants actually lived there. However, given the size of the giants, which I will talk about next, I don't think so that's a possibility. But hey, let's keep an open mind, shall we? So if the people of Ad were giants, then how tall were they? To answer that question, we need to rewind back to al-Talabi's ḳiṣaṣ al-anbiyā಼, because he mentions there that the average height amongst them was about 70 cubits tall. To put that into perspective, that is about 2/3 as tall as the Chicago Water Tower at about 105 feet tall. Huge, right? It doesn't stop there though. Al-Talabi goes on to mention that the highest amongst them was about 100 cubits tall, which means he was around 150 feet tall. Now, to put that into perspective, that is just 4 feet short of the Chicago Water Tower, which stands at about 155 feet tall. And of course, not leaving out the short men, they were about 60 cubits tall. Now, 60 cubits is about 90 feet tall, and funnily, it is also the same height of Prophet Adam. But let's rewind further back in time and understand who the people of Ad and his sons were. Ad was the grandson of Iram, who was also the grandson of Nuh through his son Shem. As the story goes, Ad had many sons, but his two notable ones were Shaddad and Shadid. Through one of his other sons came prophethood, but that is a story for another time. According to Arab mythology, when Ad died, his two sons took the rule into their own hands and subjugated the lands all the way from the east to the west, and there wasn't a city nor a country that wasn't under their rule. Yet Shadid died shortly after, and his brother Shaddad became king. No one contested his rule, and he became the sole ruler of the world. He then came across ancient books, possibly from the time of Adam or Noah, detailing the description of heaven, and he wanted to create the likeness of it on earth. So what did he do? He gathered all of the resources of the world which are at his fingertips, and he set about 100,000 men to build this great city modeled after heaven, with gold, musk, chrysolite, etc., with trees bearing all kinds of fruit, with water flowing under those trees in lanes made of silver. With his rule stretched to the world, there were 260 kingdoms, and therefore those 260 kings were subjugated under his rule. He sent out overseers to each of those kings to order them to mine the materials needed to build this great city. But before that, he needed a place to build it, a flat surface where there wasn't any mounds nor hills, an open land where people could see this city from miles away, not hidden behind a mountain, and he found it, somewhere in the Rub al-Khali desert near Yemen. It took the workers 300 years to build the city, and Shaddad was indeed alive during this time to see the city, as he lived for a total of 700 years. At the end of those 300 years, the city of Ubar, a realm of the pillars, was built, with pillars of topaz and sapphire. Water filled in lanes of silver flowed underneath the trees that bore all kinds of fruits. Pearls and rubies were inlaid within doors and the floors, with pellets of musk and saffron scattered like sand everywhere. Shaddad indeed had created a magnificent city, but whether that was as beautiful as heaven, no one can say for sure, as no one has seen heaven. And that, my friends, is a brief look into the people of Ard.